Well, the so-called historic nuclear deal with Iran hitting a bit of a speed bump over the last 24 hours. Officials in Tehran reportedly rejecting the Obama administration's fact sheet on the deal, calling it, quote, misleading, and accusing the White House of lying to the American people about what was agreed. John Bolton is former U.S. ambassador to the UN and a Fox News contributor and is probably not surprised by some of this behavior. Ambassador Bolton, so what is the issue here?
Well, Iran is doing to this agreement what it has done to countless other agreements in the past. It's opening it up. The document itself, signed in Geneva, the Joint Plan of Action, is a very poorly written document. Even its style and grammar are not very good, quite apart from the loopholes and ambiguities that the document itself contains. Forget the big policy picture here. It's just a very poorly done document. So what Iran is doing is they have compared the fact sheet that the White House put out to the text of the document itself. And I actually made that comparison before the Iranians did it, and I know this will shock you, but the White House fact sheet puts a much more positive spin on the terms of the agreement than the agreement itself can bear.
So are you saying the Iranians are right in their complaints?
Sure. Well, they're right in the sense they are going after ambiguities where the White House characterizes, for example, what happens to the Iraq heavy water reactor one way to make it sound like a lot of constraints are placed on Iran. Iran takes the actual agreement that was signed in Geneva and argues that it's got a lot more flexibility, which in fact it does. But the main point here is that Iran is now turning the screwdriver, loosening the terms of this agreement in ways that it will do consistently over the next 6 months.
Speaking of those 6 months, James Rosen, who always does a lot of great reporting over the State Department and otherwise, flagged me to an interesting exchange during the press briefing at the State Department yesterday, where a reporter asked, what is the timeline for this agreement? We know it's 6 months, but has that 6 month clock begun yet? And the State Department said, no, we're not even to the point where the 6 months is starting to tick off. So where are we really with this agreement at all?
Well, you know, this question was put to the State Department by others as well, and what they seem to be saying is we need more negotiation over some of the specific terms here to decide when the 6 months begins to run. So in the meantime, of course, Iran is just out continuing all the work that it was doing the day before this agreement was signed. But there's one aspect of it that doesn't depend on timing being announced, and that's the Iranians taking advantage of the loosening of the economic sanctions. There's reporting in major media yesterday and today about how European corporate officers and government officials are already talking to Iran about resuming business that they were engaged in before sanctions were put in place. So again, Iran is moving on the parts of the deal that are beneficial to it and not moving on the parts that aren't. Nobody should be surprised at this. This regime in Tehran is expert at taking apart badly written documents, and that's what this Geneva plan is.
Ambassador Bolton, always nice to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate it as always. Thank you.